Chuck Norris couldn't or wouldn't do. The 86-year-old, long deemed invincible, has died suddenly, leaving his legion of fans in shock.
For years, people saw a fearless hero who always seemed impossible to defeat. But behind the cameras was a very different story, one filled with hard work, quiet sacrifices, and a fortune built over a lifetime. As questions about his legacy continue to grow, many wonder what will happen to everything he earned and why those closest to him have such deep emotions about it. The truth is far more powerful than most people ever imagined. Long before millions of people knew him as a fearless action hero, Chuck Norris was simply a young boy trying to find his place in the world. His life did not begin with fame, money, or success. It began with challenges that taught him strength long before he ever stepped onto a movie set. Carlos Ray Chuck Norris was born on March 10, 1940, in Ryan, Oklahoma. His family did not have much money, and his childhood was far from easy. His parents struggled, and life at home was often difficult. As a young boy, Chuck was quiet, shy, and unsure of himself. Few people could have guessed that this same boy would one day become one of the most respected action stars in Hollywood. Everything began to change after he joined the United States Air Force. During his service, he was sent to South Korea. That is where he discovered martial arts for the first time. What started as simple training quickly became a passion. Martial arts gave him confidence, discipline, and a clear purpose. It helped him become stronger, not just physically but mentally as well. After leaving the military, Chuck continued training harder than ever. He entered martial arts competitions and built an impressive winning record. Before long, he opened his own karate schools, where he trained students from all walks of life. Some of those students were famous actors and celebrities, helping his reputation grow beyond the martial arts world. Even with his growing success, Chuck never forgot the lessons he learned during his difficult childhood. He believed that real strength came from discipline, respect, and never giving up. Those values would guide every major decision he made in the years ahead. At that moment, he had no idea that the skills he had worked so hard to master would soon open the door to Hollywood, changing his life forever. Chuck Norris had already earned respect in the world of martial arts, but Hollywood was a completely different challenge. The movie business was filled with talented actors, and there was no promise that a karate champion could become a successful star. Still, Chuck believed that every new challenge was another chance to prove himself. One of the biggest turning points came when he met martial arts legend Bruce Lee. The two men respected each other's skills and later appeared together in the 1972 film The Way of the Dragon. Their unforgettable fight scene became one of the most famous martial arts battles ever filmed. Even though Chuck played the villain, millions of viewers noticed his talent, confidence, and powerful screen presence. That role opened new doors. Throughout the late 1970s and 1980s, Chuck starred in action films that made him a household name. Movies like Good Guys Wear Black, Lone Wolf McQuade Missing in Action, and Delta Force turned him into one of Hollywood's biggest action heroes. Audiences loved his calm personality, powerful fighting skills, and the way he always stood up for what was right. But his greatest success was still ahead. In 1993, Chuck took on a role that would define his career forever. Cordell Walker in Walker, Texas Ranger. The television series quickly became a huge hit. Week after week, millions of families watched him fight crime with honesty, courage, and respect. Unlike many action shows of the time, Walker, Texas Ranger focused on strong values, justice, and helping others, making it popular with viewers of all ages. The show's success lasted for 8 seasons and nearly 200 episodes. It was also sold around the world, introducing Chuck Norris to millions of international fans. The series became much more than a television show. It became a symbol of his career and helped build a financial success that would continue for many years through reruns, licensing, and other business opportunities. By the time the cameras stopped rolling, Chuck Norris was no longer just a martial artist or an actor. He had become a global icon whose name represented strength, discipline, and determination. But while fans admired the man on the screen, very few realized that his biggest success was happening behind the scenes, where a remarkable fortune was quietly taking shape. For many fans, Chuck Norris was simply an action star. They saw the movies, watched Walker, Texas Ranger, and remembered the unforgettable fight scenes. But what most people never realized was that his success reached far beyond Hollywood. Over the years, he quietly built a fortune through smart choices instead of flashy spending. His acting career brought in millions of dollars. Every successful movie added to his income, and Walker, Texas Ranger, became one of the biggest financial milestones of his life. The series ran for years, and even after production ended, reruns continued to generate income through television networks around the world. Few television stars are lucky enough to earn from a show long after the cameras stop rolling, but Chuck was one of them. Still, acting was only part of the story. Chuck understood that careers in Hollywood do not last forever. Instead of depending on movie paychecks alone, he expanded into business. He wrote best-selling books about martial arts, personal growth, fitness, and faith. These books reached readers across the world and became another steady source of income. He also partnered with major companies for endorsements and fitness products. His name had become a trusted brand. Fans believed in his discipline and healthy lifestyle, making him the perfect choice for businesses looking for a respected public figure. Away from the spotlight, Chuck also invested in real estate and other long-term opportunities. Unlike many celebrities who spent their wealth on luxury lifestyles, he was known for making careful financial decisions. Friends and business partners often described him as someone who preferred stability over unnecessary attention. As the years passed, these different sources of income worked together to create an impressive fortune. It was not built overnight, and it did not come from one blockbuster movie. It was a result of decades of hard work, smart planning, and the discipline that had guided him since his military days. That is why conversations about his wealth continue to attract so much attention today. People are not only curious about how much he earned, they also wonder how such a carefully built fortune could shape the future of the family he loves most. Behind every dollar he earned was something even more valuable, a family that always mattered more than fame or fortune. While the world celebrated Chuck Norris as an action hero, the people closest to him knew a very different side of the man. Away from movie sets and television cameras, he focused on being a husband, a father, and a man of deep faith. No matter how successful he became, those priorities rarely changed. Throughout his life, Chuck often spoke about the importance of family. He believed that fame could disappear overnight, but the love and support of family would always remain. That belief became even stronger after he married former model Gina O'Kelly in 1998. The couple built a life centered on faith, trust, and helping one another through every challenge. Their relationship faced one of its biggest tests when Gina experienced serious health problems. Chuck stepped away from much of his acting career, so he could spend more time caring for her. It was a decision that surprised many fans. But for Chuck, the choice was simple. Family came first. Success meant very little if the people he loved needed him. Beyond his home life, Chuck also devoted time and money to helping others. Through charities and youth programs, he worked to give children better opportunities and teach values like respect, discipline, and responsibility. These efforts reflected the same principles that had guided him since his younger years. Those who knew Chuck personally often described him as humble despite his fame. He rarely chased headlines or showed off his wealth. Instead, he preferred a quieter life surrounded by the people who mattered most. That is why discussions about his fortune are not just about money. They are also about the people who will one day carry forward everything he spent a lifetime building. And that brings us to the emotional question that has captured the attention of so many fans. The real story isn't just about how much Chuck Norris earned. It's about what happens to everything he built and the legacy he hopes will live on for generations. As Chuck Norris grew older, many fans began asking the same question. What would happen to the fortune he spent decades building? Online headlines often made dramatic claims, suggesting secret family battles or emotional disputes over his wealth. But the facts tell a much different story. There is no verified evidence that Chuck Norris's family has been torn apart by arguments over his money. In fact, those close to him have long described him as someone who believes in careful planning and strong family values. Rather than leaving important decisions to chance, he has always appeared to take a thoughtful approach to protecting the future of the people he loves. His fortune represents much more than bank accounts, homes, or business investments. Every dollar tells a story of years of discipline, sacrifice, and hard work. From his early days in the Air Force to becoming a Hollywood icon, nothing came easily. That is why his legacy carries emotional weight. It is a reminder of everything he overcame to build a better life for his family, for his children and loved ones. The true value of that fortune is not simply the money itself. It is the example he set. Chuck spent his entire life teaching the importance of honesty, respect, faith, and perseverance. Those lessons cannot be measured in dollars, yet they may become the greatest inheritance he ever leaves behind. It is easy for shocking headlines to spread across the internet. Stories filled with mystery often attract millions of clicks. But when we separate rumor from reality, we find something even more meaningful. The emotion surrounding Chuck Norris's legacy comes from gratitude, admiration, and the knowledge that one man's lifetime of dedication created security and opportunities for the generations that follow. Perhaps that is why so many people connect with his story. It reminds us that real success is not about becoming famous. It is about building a life that continues to help others long after the spotlight fades. Chuck Norris's greatest achievement was never defeating villains on television. It was creating a legacy that reaches far beyond the screen. When people hear the name Chuck Norris, they often think of legendary fight scenes, action movies, and the fearless Texas Ranger who always stood for justice. But after looking at his entire journey, it becomes clear that his greatest victory was never found on a movie set. He proved that success is built one step at a time. A shy boy from a small town became a martial arts champion. A military serviceman became a Hollywood icon. An action star became a respected businessman, author, and family man. Every chapter of his life was shaped by discipline, hard work, and a refusal to give up. His financial success was certainly remarkable, but money was never the whole story. The fortune he built was simply the result of decades of smart decisions, determination, and consistency. More importantly, it gave him the ability to support his loved ones, help charities, and inspire millions of people around the world. Today, Chuck Norris remains one of the most recognizable names in entertainment. His movies continue to be watched by new generations, and Walker, Texas Ranger, still holds a special place in the hearts of fans who grew up admiring its message of courage, honesty, and justice. Whether people remember him as a martial artist, an actor, or a cultural icon, one thing is certain. His influence reaches far beyond Hollywood. His story reminds us that true strength is not measured by fame, power, or wealth. It is measured by character, the people we help, and the legacy we leave behind. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next deep dive into the lives of legendary celebrities. We'd also love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What is your favorite Chuck Norris memory? As the spotlight slowly fades, one truth remains clear. The greatest gift Chuck Norris leaves behind is not simply a fortune, but a lifetime of courage, faith, resilience, and inspiration that will continue to live on to his family and the millions of fans who still admire him. Chuck Norris Walker, Texas Ranger, star leave behind a fortune that makes his family cry.